What is the number one success secret of entrepreneurs? In this video, you are going to be hearing from some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world as they share with you their secrets of success. But more of that in a moment. If you are the type of person who has struggled to take you and your business to the next level, then this video is for you. So before we get stuck into the content, let me just tell you where I am. I am in a very foggy London, but I'm actually at an event, the EMC, Entrepreneurs Marketing Conference. Now, last year I emceed this event and I spoke at it, but today I'm going to be speaking to lots and lots of entrepreneurs. This event is full of people that are looking to take their business, their lives to the next level. Come on, let's go in. The EMC 2022 Entrepreneurs Marketing Conference. Yeah. You're an entrepreneur, right?
Well, try to be.
Try to be. What's your number one success secret for being an entrepreneur?
Consistency.
Consistency. What do you mean?
Well, you're gonna. When you take action, we have this tendency of thinking, right, if I don't get the result I'm looking for after the action, you change the action. You don't go deep enough. And like if you don't go deep somewhere in an activity and really test whether it works or not, you're never going to get results. So this is shiny object syndrome. You go this, you go that, you try YouTube, you try TikTok. If you can try something, go deep and stay consistent with it. Because until you go deep and consistent, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And if you look at, when I look at entrepreneurs from the outside, if you look at Elon Musk or Brinson, the big ones and the people that we know, the successful ones, the difference that makes a difference is consistency.
What is your number one secret for being an entrepreneur? What is it that you would say that every entrepreneur needs to know?
Anyone in business has to know what they want and why they want it. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the time people don't know, they have these great ideas where they say, I just want to help people. And it's just nonsense, At the end of the day, we're in business to make money so that we can provide a better life for ourselves and our families. So what is it you want? Why do you want it? And do you have a plan to get there? And if you've got that kind of core around what you do, then you've got a chance to become successful as an entrepreneur. But the word entrepreneur for me is an uncomfortable word. A lot of the time, I don't know how old you are. I'm 52. But
I'm 52.
Okay, we're the same age. When's your birthday?
May.
May the what?
13th.
I'm the 14th. No way. I never knew that.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, how mad is that? So we both had 50s in our lockdown. That word didn't exist when we were young. I was just in LA filming the podcast, and Americans say entrepreneur, entrepreneur, and it's like a big word. For me, it's like one-man band, sole trader. That's how we start out. But anyone that's trying to build a business and get somewhere, I find a lot of the time they fail because they don't really know where they're going. They're just trying to make a bit of cash and just trying to survive. Or they have these great ideas about what they want, but there's no meaning behind it.
It's really interesting. We're hearing a number of different things, but one of those things is consistency. And consistency is what holds something together. It's very easy for people to start, and it's very easy for people to finish. Let's go and check out the band. I think they're playing my tune. What would you say is the most important strategy or tip for anyone who wants to be a successful entrepreneur?
The simple one that I've always learned is you need to talk to more people, because people need to know, like, and trust you in order to even grow your business. So if people don't know who you are, you're never going to grow. So just every day, try to meet 2 new people. It sounds too simple to be true, but it will help. If just you talk to 2 random people on the street and you introduce yourself, tell them what you do, 2 more people know about your business and what you actually do. So you're going to keep growing.
So why do you think people don't do that as much as they could?
Most people are shy. I think that's probably the primary reason, and they don't see the value in it. But people still forget, like, if people don't know who you are, that's how you go out of business. Like, if everybody knew who you are, it becomes a lot easier. Yeah,
it's such a simple thing to do. I think when we grow up, there are 3 things that we're all told: don't talk to strangers, money doesn't grow on trees, and don't copy.
Yeah.
Right. And what would you attribute your success to, apart from speaking to lots of people?
I think it's just like implementing a lot of stuff. Because I see a lot of people consuming books, consuming videos right now, especially on YouTube, TikTok, or they read a lot of books. And they read through it, I'm like, did you actually implement what that one book said? So what I usually do is, like, I do a chapter of a book. I'll implement that first, and then I'll read the next chapter, instead of just reading the entire book. Because I'm like, the knowledge is nice, but without applied knowledge, you're never going to get anywhere.
So you're an implementer.
Yeah.
So we are absolutely surrounded by entrepreneurs. Now, What is an entrepreneur? Well, if you look in the dictionary, it will tell you that it's someone who is taking a risk in the pursuit of profit. But it actually has a much deeper meaning. It comes from a Sanskrit word, which means an inner desire, an inner motivation to do something. That is what an entrepreneur is. Are you one? I most definitely am. I'm an entrepreneur who wants to inspire people to look to the future in such a way where they are inspired about what they can do as they tap into the infinite possibilities that exist for all of us. Come on, let's go and speak to a few more entrepreneurs. What is your number one secret for being a successful entrepreneur?
I think relatedness with people and building meaningful relationships, and then being able to serve people. Because I think, the minute you can have relationships and meaningful relationships, then you can work out intent. And that, for me, is what's making it so easy to talk to people around here and, just get on with things, I guess.
Why do you think people struggle to do that?
I think, to be honest with you, I think the world today is very keep to your own, stick in your lane, be in a silo, and almost communication and relationship building is dead. So, that's why people struggle with it so much.
I'll give you a tiny background. When I was 2, my mum left my dad. He was a gambling addict, so that's my earliest memory. And she went to live with her mum in the north of England. But what I didn't know at the time was she was sexually abused by her stepdad for years and years and years. So for her to go back to that environment was a terrifying ordeal. But I only found out about that 50 years later. She only told me. Because I was making the Channel 4 TV show Get a House for Free, and that backstory came out of my mum's journey with me as a kid. Yeah. So cut a long story short, I was homeless a lot with my mum as a kid and a teenager. She left my stepdad at 15. I decided to leave school. I just wasn't happy in a school. So I went round all the shops in my town and said, can I clean your floors for £1 an hour? Right, and some of them said no, but a lot of them said yes. I had nowhere to live because I didn't want to live with my stepdad. So what I did, I got the keys. I used to be the last in and the last out and the first in. And I used to sleep in the attic of like Woolworths and places like that, and no one knew I was there. And I saved all this money up, and I got a room, a little tiny room. And then I got into sales when I was 21. I was the worst salesperson there because I was so introvert. But after 6 weeks, I became the best salesperson there. Through adversity, really, because it was like the boss said, you're going to be fired tomorrow if you don't sell. And for me, I didn't want to go back to be a cleaner. I'd drawn the line under that. So I basically went and said, right, okay, I'm going to sell. So I sort of started selling. Did really well, broke the world record. I got headhunted by a load of companies in the late 90s. In 97, I got headhunted by a company in Malaysia to run their public company in property and timeshare. So I flew all my family over there, turned it into $1 billion company. When I was 31, I had a heart attack. My wife left me from her best friend, and I lost all my money on the stock market. I had $3 million on the stock market, and I lost pretty much all of it. But then I said to myself, the health was the most important thing. So I just basically completely changed my life and was health focused. I decided I would never ever work for anybody ever again because I didn't want anyone to be in control what I was going to do next. That was a huge deal for me. And even though I had no money, it didn't matter because I'd made that decision. There was no way I was going to go back to that. And because I committed, I started to get consultancy work because I had a reputation. And I started thinking of ideas that I could do. And basically, in 2008, I wrote my first book, which became a #1 best-selling book, overnight, literally, instant hit. And I thought, right, how can I make $1 million this year? Just a question I asked myself. And it was the recession, it was subprime. So everyone was suffering, right? And I thought, right, companies need help, they need more sales. So because of my background, I thought, right, how can I help companies sell more? So I thought, right, how about if they could give a vacation away to get, like, buy a car, get a free vacation, buy a house, buy a phone, get a vacation. So what I did, I rang all the hotels I knew. I said, listen, have you got any free rooms I can use? If you give me a free room, I'll send them for lunch. So we got about 100 free rooms, packaged them into a voucher for 50 quid, sold them to a company for 50 quid. I didn't pay anything for it, just the printing cost. And I got my first sale on Christmas Eve in 2008 for £500,000.
Wow.
10,000 vouchers to an electrical franchise of 100 stores, and I made 12 million that year doing that.
And lastly, you've also done something pretty big in terms of making a film.
Yeah, so when I'd achieved everything in business that I wanted to do, I'd always wanted to make a film since I was a child. Since I was 5 years old, I was dreaming I was James Bond. You know?
You are, aren't you?
Well, I aspire. So yeah, that feature film was always there as a dream. And when I was 45, which is not that long ago, I just said, right, I need to make a feature film. So I reached out to everyone I knew. I met this girl on Facebook I'd known a few years. We wrote a script, sent her 25 grand, never saw her again. That was my first experience.
Wow.
So on that experience, I met an actor called Victor Soleil, whose best friend was Adrian Ball, who wanted to make a spy thriller feature film like me. He said, come to Holland and meet him. So I did, and we met, we got on really well. We wrote this script based on a true story about how the Russians bombed Kiev in 1999 and killed...
Topical.
Very topical. Because the director's wife was Ukrainian. So we did all this PR, and then one day the director called me and said, listen, Marco, you better sit down. I said, why? He said, you just sit down. I said, what's up? He said, your picture's all over Russian news. He said, your Facebook's all over Russian news. I said, what the fuck? He said, you're all over Russian TV. I said, why? Well, it's good, right? He said, no, it's not good. It's not good because they've circled your comments about what Russia did, and they've said on the news that you're a dead man walking, basically, and I didn't believe him, so I got the news clip sent to me.
I've got to go.
All right. I got the news clip sent to me, and it was true, and this is a true story that is just amazing. And I thought, what the hell? So that was the most scared I've ever been, right? So anyway, unbeknown to me, not connected, this Russian girl I'd been talking to for a year said, can I come and stay with you? And I said, absolutely. Gorgeous woman. She came and stayed with me, and the third day in bed, she said, I don't think you should make that film. And I said, why would you say that? She said, because I'm not who you think I am. I'm a Russian FSB agent. True story, right? He said, your house is booked, your office is booked, everything's booked. Now, I'm naked in bed at the time, Pete, thinking, what am I going to... It's like in a James Bond film, right?
Yeah, exactly. You are James Bond.
So I'm thinking, what do I do? So I left it a couple of days and I digested it and I said, right, I've had to think about this. I said, if you're going to kill me, you would have killed me already. So I've had a great life. I don't care. Kill me. But I'm not going to make that film, obviously, right? So anyway, didn't make that film. Made another film, wrote the script, made it fictional, but based on that story a little bit. Called it Legacy of Lies.
Seen it on Netflix.
Yeah. Raised 12 grand.
Great film.
Raised 12 grand to make the trailer, sent it to all these film grants, foundations, and we won a $1 million grant to make the film. Then we got Scott Adkins, and I raised about $5 million to make it, and it debuted at number 2 on Netflix last year.
What is your number one secret for entrepreneurs? What bit of advice would you give to every entrepreneur?
Well, it's got to be believe in yourself, number one, and then it's closely followed by self-discipline. Self-discipline more than motivation. Motivation doesn't last. Self-discipline is a constant, that you do the actions every single day, you know.
And why do you think people struggle with self-discipline?
I think because everyone's conditioned, you know, people have this comfort zone, which is a society conditioner, especially today with snowflakes. You know, when you're raising kids these days, we've kind of demonized first and second place. 8th and 10th place is like, oh, I got 10th place. So it's kind of like that winning mentality is drifted, to be honest with you. So the comfort zone is too easy to go to. And if you think about it, people are hardwired for the comfort zone, right? They're hardwired for just sitting down and not doing anything, but the soul is hardwired for growth. So whatever lights you up, that's what it's about, and that's in that growth area, isn't it?
As an entrepreneur, you are definitely someone who I look as a real inspirational entrepreneur, right? It's true. What is your number one tip in terms of being a successful entrepreneur?
Well, I'm going to do a presentation called The 8 Traits of the Greats, which I'm doing in about 20 minutes' time. But you've got to be passionate, you've got to have resilience, you've got to have commercial awareness. And if you're passionate about what you do, it gives you all the resilience to go through, because it's very difficult. You know, building a commercially profitable enterprise, a business that is super successful, is no short task. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And if you don't love what you're doing, you will give up. And it steals a lot of your life. There's no two ways about it. You know, a lot of your life is stolen from you to build the thing, whatever you're building. So if you don't love it, you're going to give up.
So John, just wanted to ask you a couple of questions. What do you think is the most important thing that entrepreneurs need to know in order for them to be successful?
Very big question. I'd say just focus. Like, get on your one thing that you know can make your business work effectively and just double down on that, triple down on it, just keep going and perfecting that one thing to start with. And then once you get good results with that one thing, start to expand slowly. A lot of companies that I see blow up real quick if they make things work really effectively, especially with where advertising has been, so they can grow really quickly. But that actually causes a lot of long-term damage if they don't get it right when they're building. So it's focusing and making sure you really deliver and don't sell with hype. Keep it real and yeah, build slower than you probably want to.
Why do you think people struggle to keep focus?
There's so many things that you can focus on. There's like from day-to-day activities, from sales, marketing, operations, finance, leading a team. There's so many things to be focusing on, and times could be turbulent from time to time. Like we're in a recession right now. Loads of things have been changing on many ad platforms. They continue to change. There's so many things going on, and so people are always looking for a new way or looking for an easier way. And coming back to fundamentals, coming back to actually what works deep down when you realize you're dealing with a human being at the end of the other line, keeping those fundamentals in mind make things so much easier. So it's kind of like just narrowing down, focusing on what you're really good at. Don't get distracted by loads of other things being promoted to you, and just double down.
So can you tell me, what's your number one success tip that you would give to anyone who wants to be a successful entrepreneur?
Yeah, I guess the very first tip is know what you want. So, get the clarity, know what it is that you actually want to achieve. And then second of all, I think it's a lonely journey. So make sure that you network with the right people. The more you grow your network, the more opportunities come. That's the start.
What advice would you give to someone? What do you think is the number one thing that entrepreneurs really need to know or do?
Well, I think there's so much good information out there, it can become overwhelming. So what happens is that you're watching all these YouTube videos, listening to all the podcasts, and it starts to become overwhelming, and that is when procrastination sets in. Because you don't want to do the wrong thing, and everyone's telling you do this, do this, do this. So you're confused by all the options. So the best advice always is to find something, stick with it, run with it, take action, make it happen, and then tweak the approach as you go on, rather than starting perfect. Start good, but not perfect.
Tell people at home, if you're going to do content, if you're going to speak to a lot of people at live events, top tip, do not eat curry for your lunch. You stink. Bad move.
So there you go. That is the top tip about entrepreneurship. Thanks a lot, James. What an incredible guy. So there you have it. Don't eat curry before you present.
This is definitely going to be made into a proper clip, isn't it?
Definitely.
I like
you
it.
know that's going to be in what we're going to make. So a few questions. First question, what is your number one tip for entrepreneurship? What does it take for someone to be successful in this world of entrepreneurship?
I think the number one thing has got to be work ethic. You can have the best idea in the world, but you will not get anywhere if you don't work really, 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 really hard. I know it's a bit of a Neanderthal response. I know that the work ethic thing and the hustle hard mentality has been kind of sort of given a bad rep recently, but I think underpinning everything is a work ethic which will inevitably get you somewhere. Now, if you've got the wrong idea, you will just get to where you're going to get quicker. And if that's the wrong place, then at least you learn the lesson. I've done it plenty of times. I thought I created a data company for property investment, and then Rightmove came out, and I was like, I can use some VAs and I can outdo Rightmove. Turns out I could not outdo Rightmove, but it took me 6 months to learn that lesson. But I went in at it hard, learned to build websites, learned to brand and all that kind of stuff. In the end, 6 months later, it's a complete waste of my time. But I learned lots on the way.
Why do you think very few people have that type of work ethic to go like all in on something?
I think it's fear. I think, honestly, if you don't ever fully commit, then you can never be fully annoyed with yourself if you don't get to the end outcome. If you're half in, half out, you can go, well, I didn't really try. And I've done that a few times. I don't have that sort of like, I'm going to go and do this thing mentality. Look at my sort of like health journey. My PT's here. I'm trying to avoid him like the plague because he's going to be like, how's that chicken and rice? I've not been eating the chicken and rice. I've been having lovely little desserts. So I don't have that mentality with everything, but that's why I haven't got the results that I want to get. But I think it's becoming, it's weird because about 4 or 5 years ago, like the hustle, the hard work, the get up earlys, the ice baths, it was really popular. Then it went the other way and everyone's like, well, you've got to look after mental well-being, man. And I get that as well. But I think it's becoming popularised again. I think there's an urban music artist called Bugsy Malone, and he's just achieved unbelievable stuff as an independent artist. He's appearing in films, he sells out tours, he makes millions of pounds a year. UK guy from Salford. And his whole thing is work hard, work hard, work hard. And if you watch his socials, the marketplace that he appeals to, 15-year-old to 25, 30-year-old, predominantly lads, what are they doing? They're in the gym, they're boxing, they're training, they're running, and he shares that stuff. So I think sometimes you just need a couple of instigators which will reaffirm a mentality which can create a wave of change.
I really like that about the working hard and going all in on something. And I think you're spot on. There's a lot of fear attached to what might happen. It might not work.
I stick to my guns when I say this. So I come from a background from raising finance and raising money for startups. And I would say 9 out of 10 business owners right now don't know their numbers. And when I say numbers, I mean their KPIs, their metrics. Now, I'm a strong believer, and I say correct. If someone can come and correct me wrong, I don't believe there's no other way of making decisions in your business correctly without having your data to back it up. So if it's something that you haven't got, your cost per acquisition, your customer lifetime value, your KPIs, your metrics, all the numbers that allow you to listen, read and understand your business to make the right decision, see if something's working and not working. So step number 1, any entrepreneur, before starting out, or if you've started out, test, measure, get your numbers, get your KPIs, and it'll make you create data-driven decisions.
There you have it. Know your numbers. The first question is, as an entrepreneur and someone who's been working in that field for a very, very long time, what would you say is the most important thing that entrepreneurs need to do? If you could kind of distill it down to one thing, what would you say that one thing was?
Oh, are we going right now?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess focus. Because in the early years, you've got to make sure that you're putting enough time into it. You know, I was having a chat with that guy over there called Ben, and we were talking about the fact that, I got started at 18. And he mentioned at 18, he was just out drinking, having a good time. And I wasn't, because I wanted to focus, get my head down. That's given me a head start. So, yeah. Focus.
So why do you think people struggle with focus then?
Distraction, procrastination, things that are more enjoyable. Starting a business is not enjoyable, is it? It's hard in the beginning. Yeah. So there's other things that will take your focus away.
As an entrepreneur, what is your biggest tip for successful entrepreneurship? I mean, it's many things, right? Yeah. But is there one thing that really stands out?
Yes, I said it once, I'll say it again, it's asking for help. And I mean, specifically from people who have done what you want to do. So for example, if I wanted to open up a sushi restaurant, I don't know shit about cooking, by the way, but if I did, I'm going to find 10 people who have successful sushi restaurants and do whatever it takes to get advice from them. And that's it. I'm going to ignore all the others. So it's not just about what you should do, it's what you shouldn't do too. What I'm not going to do is ask the advice of my friends and family. I love them and I respect their opinions in a lot of lanes, but not in this fucking sushi restaurant. And most importantly, I don't respect my own opinion when it comes to running a sushi restaurant. Because I don't know, so I think that's the game. And if people can realize that, then you'll be successful.
Why don't people like asking for help then, do you think?
I mean, embarrassment, right? Like, we're taught to have so much pride, and I think the hard part is as a small business owner, when you're coming up, you go through so much shit, and so many people doubt you. There's a chip on your shoulder that wants to be like, fuck it, I'll prove you wrong. But you got to humble yourself and ask the people. And what you'll realize is the people who will never talk shit are the people that are doing better than you. The people who are doing better than you very, 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 very rarely will ever put you down. They'll be the ones that are uplifting you. So, don't let it get you that people are talking shit, because you wouldn't want to trade places with them.
You were on Dragon's Den. How did that come about?
We did a crowdfunding campaign for 250k, raised it in 4 days, got noticed from the crowdfunding platform, and then they invited us on the show.
So in terms of being an entrepreneur, what is it that you think is the most important element in becoming a successful entrepreneur?
Self-belief, and just understanding that whatever goal that you want to achieve, it all starts with self-belief. And with how many people influence your circle of influence these days with social media, you have to have a really high desire to become or achieve whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. And without self-belief, it's impossible.
Okay, so when you say self-belief, what does that mean?
That means that just knowing you are capable of any goal that you set out to achieve, regardless of what people around you perceive you to be capable of.
What would you say is your top tip for an entrepreneur?
Top tip for an entrepreneur?
Who wants to be successful?
Okay, so what I always say is, being an entrepreneur, it's not a business choice, it's not a career choice, it's a lifestyle choice. And a lot of people on the outside just see all the great stuff. They say, people say to me, it must be brilliant to be able to flex your work around your family and pick the kids up from school when you want. And that's because they see the great side of it. They don't see all the sacrifices that you have to make for the success that you get. So to me, you have to love what you do. You have to love it so much that you're prepared to give your life up to it. Because when you love it that much, what you can get back is off the chart incredible. I mean, I am the luckiest girl in the world. The opportunities I get, the lifestyle that the business affords me is phenomenal. But I give a lot back as well. So I always say to everybody, 17 years I've been doing this now, and I feel like I've never worked a day in my life. However, you'll never meet somebody who'll work as hard as I do. But as long as you love what you do, it'll never feel like work. And you get to do fantastic things like come and speak at this conference. I think you never take it for granted and always love what you're doing.
Well, it's funny because obviously we've just turning the tides here, and thank you, Ashley, for asking me the question. I was thinking, God, that's a tough question. I don't even know if I know the answer. And yet I've been asking so many people the same question. I think that something I heard someone we both know called Beju say, that a lot of people think an entrepreneur is someone who takes a risk in the pursuit of profit. But actually, I learned this from him. The word entrepreneur has a much deeper meaning. What it actually means is where you've got this inner drive to do something, and you can't put the fire out, And that's what it is to me. It's like a fire that just can't go out. But you have to find something that keeps the fire burning, and that's a difficult thing, right, in business. So for me, what keeps my fire going is connecting people and thinking, how can you help someone look to the future in a way where they go, I want to do that. I want to become that person. It's hard to maintain it because you can burn out, and I have burnt out a few times. Wow. So over the last 2 days, I have been speaking to so many entrepreneurs. What have you learned? You must have learned something. You've watched to the end of this video. I think there's an entrepreneur in all of us. And now I'm going to challenge you to invest a little bit more time into learning from the most successful entrepreneur in the world right now. Who is that? That is Jimmy Donaldson, aka Mr. Beast. Watch the video called The #1 Success Secret of Mr. Beast. Don't do it now. Do it right now.